Yes, this is John G. Sutton, and welcome to Tales from the Jails. I'm going to talk today about the strange case of the handless corpse that was found in the Delph Quarry at Chorley, well, Eccleston, Chorley, yeah, that area. And it was in 1979. Two divers were in the quarry. It's a flooded quarry. They were diving, scuba diving, and they found there a corpse and with a mutilated, its face smashed in, and the hands missing, so the police couldn't get any fingerprints off it. And round the neck of the corpse, the naked body of this man floating at the bottom of the Delph, weighted down by weights, and a truck jack, for a heavy duty jack. It was floating at the bottom of the quarry. It took the police quite a while. The medallion round the neck was a clue. It was the Chinese symbol for long life, which the police thought might have been put there as a kind of warning to people, like a dark, macabre joke. Yeah. Anyway, subsequently, the police discovered who the body was. It was a 27-year-old New Zealand drug runner, and it set them on the trail of finding and eventually convicting a team of drug smugglers from New Zealand that was headed by a man whose real name was Terence Clark, but who went by the name of Terry Sinclair. Now, you wonder why I'm telling you about this. Well, I met Terry Sinclair. He was on D1 landing, not in the segregation part of D1 landing. There was two parts to D1 landing. He was in the standard accommodation on D1 landing in a single cell. And Terry Sinclair was in there. And he let it be known to all and sundry that if he could be enabled to escape from Strangeways, then he would pay £1 million. Seriously. Now, Terry Sinclair had a yacht. He was also known as Mr. Big. Yeah. One of his fellow operatives was known as Mr. Asia. They worked in Singapore and Hong Kong, and they had numerous companies that specialised in smuggling heroin and cocaine on these yachts. Had a number of yachts, extremely rich, made him extremely rich, but also it's eventually managed to end him up in Strangeways. And as I say, I met Terry Sinclair down on D1 when I was working there on occasions, and he had a single cell, and he was on remand at the time. He hadn't been convicted, but he let it be known that £1 million for anybody who got him out. I believe one of the staff who worked around there had connections with the IRA. He was an Irishman himself, and he tried to get the IRA to get him out of Strangeways. The officer, I believe, disappeared after that. Maybe he was moved or resigned or what, but they didn't succeed in doing that. Now, the strange thing about Sinclair's imprisonment was, because he had all this money, he was able to afford, at the time you could, if you were on remand, actually get your own food sent in. So he used to get outside caterers to provide him with food. So it came in, and he was allowed wine, and he was smoking cigars, and it was just I don't know if he was doing it to take the piss or what, but he was certainly spending a vast amount of money on his entertainment down D1. Anyway, subsequently Sinclair was sentenced and transferred to Birmingham prison, HMP Birmingham. Yeah, and it was whilst he was at Birmingham prison that he was supposedly found in his cell at 4 o'clock in the morning, dead from what they said was a heart attack. He was found, believe this or not, by the #1 governor and a chief officer and a senior medical officer that found him in his cell at 4 o'clock in the morning. Imagine that. I mean, I worked in the prisons for a long time. At 4 o'clock in the morning, you didn't see any #1 governor, nowhere near. Yeah, as for getting the chief officer in at 4 o'clock in the morning, not a chance. And the senior medical officer, you couldn't get him in the day, never mind at 4 o'clock in the morning. Yet there they were, stating that they found this man in his cell, dead of a heart attack, and within a week he'd supposedly been cremated. Yeah, very strange, don't you think? Anyway, about 18 months after this, I was having a little soiree in my house. I had a big house in South Manchester, a place called Urmston, actually. Big old Victorian double-fronted place with cellars, and I'd converted the cellars to a bar, a proper bar, you know, with a stand behind the bar with a mirror behind it and pumps and all the rest of it. And I had house guests, one of them being my brother Martin and his dear wife, and his friend from Manchester, who was called Mike. I won't give you his last name, so his first name, Mike. Yeah, and Mike came with his wife, and there was really about 40 people there. It was a proper do. And I was saying to Mike about working at Strangeways, because he knew Martin, who was an inspector in the CID in Manchester. I think he was the head of the tactical aid group. You know, that's when you get teamed up with all the firearms on and all that. He was the inspector in charge of that. And Mike Mackey was oh, right, there you go, I'll tell you, never mind. Mike, yeah, he was a solicitor in Manchester, and I said about Mike about how I'd been working on D1 and various characters that I'd met, and I happened to mention, because I'd only just heard, you know, that this guy Terry Sinclair had supposedly been found dead in his cell. And Mike said to me, well, it's strange that they're saying he's dead. He said, because I am his solicitor. I actually represent this man. He said, now, if he really was dead, they'd have to tell me, because there's a series of ongoing legal matters taking place, and I am continuing to represent Terry Sinclair. He said, so if he's dead, how come I don't know about it? Seriously. So what had happened to Terry Sinclair? 1, he wasn't in prison anymore. 2, they'd supposedly found him dead at 4 o'clock in the morning by the most senior management in Birmingham prison. And 3, he'd been cremated. So he couldn't find him. Couldn't find the body, couldn't test the body, couldn't prove that it was him or not. So that was the strange case of the handler's corpse. Yeah, because he was murdered by the orders of Terry Sinclair, who was Mr. Big in the heroin cocaine smuggling gang, multi-million-pound operation. Tales from the jails. Strange man. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. Please subscribe. You can read my book, Psychic Screw. I'll be back. John G. Sutton. Thank you.